forever.
I know.
Like,
I can't.
Let me give you a hug. I've seen forever. Like,
I'm sure yours is like 10 times more. I know.
I want to, it's my great pleasure to introduce to you Marion Boxer. She's from the Northern California Crohn's and Colitis Foundation of America.
That was a great film, and I hope that for those of you who are looking for ways to get involved to help people with Crohn's or ulcerative colitis, that you'll consider getting involved with CCFA. It was actually alluded to by a couple of people in the film.
Right into actually the Q&A, and it's my pleasure to introduce to you one of the producers of the show. Josh himself made it out today. He flew across the country to be here. Thank you, Josh. The film was incredible. Please come on down.
okay, so if anyone needs a good date movie for tomorrow night, I'm sure got some good your copy right after. So, I want to thank Gideon first for having us out there. I haven't been to San Francisco in a long time, and it's a great city. I remember from when I was 5, and I'm pumped to be back here. So, any questions on the film or about what we're doing with it?
George Bush's son Marvin has Crohn's, and Ben had actually reached out to the family and said, "Can you guys watch this film and write something about it?" And sent away a film, and I was like, "Oh, we'll never hear anything. Whatever. It's just going to disappear into the heart of Texas somewhere." And a few months later, we get this manila envelope, and Ben comes running into the office. He's like, "Look at this, the presidential seal's on here." And I was like, "Get out of here." So we went in, and then we had a letter from George Bush. It was pretty cool.
I mean, obviously, if you're dealing with a digestive disease, plain and simple, you're just not going to be able to eat your cake and eat it. Have your cake and eat it too. You need to just use your head about what you take in there. So, when I grew up in New Jersey. When I moved out to California, there's just no excuse. I mean, this is like the health. This is the health food capital of the world. I mean, you can't not eat healthy here. So.
Researched the vegetables that were alkaline and came up with a long list of them, like broccoli, cauliflower, cucumbers, that stuff. And for a long time, for probably like a year and a half, every morning I would juice like 2 pounds of these vegetables and drink it. And it tasted disgusting. It ruined my apartment. But I had a lot more energy. So I thought it made a huge difference as far as like energy, as far as symptoms. Probably not, but I definitely felt better. Like I can notice a difference that way. And then I've had, over the years, experimented with different probiotics over the years, and sometimes I'm convinced it makes an enormous difference, and sometimes I think it's ripping up money. So I don't, other than the juicing, which I still do, not as much. There hasn't been that much that I've found other than luck there.
Before. Personally, I'm feeling better than I have been in years right now, and at the time, the bag was what I needed to help get me by, and that's pretty much, the point, I guess, with the film is that a lot of us who are dealing with this right now, in the capacity that we are with the limited amount of therapies that are on the market, for someone who's exhausted every drug out there like myself, you just got to do what you got to do. I mean, somewhere along the line, you've got to just make the decision that you're going to get out of bed in the morning and deal with life.
I can't remember which hospital it is, but one of the major hospitals in Boston actually has its own staff of social workers and psychologists that only work with new diagnosis of Crohn's and colitis. So it's definitely becoming a lot more common, but not where it should be. So I think it's probably fairly common in certain cities, but once you get outside the city, it's not, you're not as likely to find a specialist, and that was kind of the void that I had hoped to fill with the film, not to replace that kind of help, but just to show that other people are going through the same thing that you are, and other people recognize that there is the emotional component too. So it would be great to see more of it as far as how many psychologists and social workers deal directly with Crohn's and colitis. I don't know the number, but not enough. For me, the thing that I would tell my friends is treat me exactly the same until I say that I can't be treated that way. You know, I want to be treated exactly the same as you would otherwise, as if I didn't have this disease. And there are certain times when obviously that's not possible, but I'll let you know. An understanding of the concerns. It's not so much what someone can actually do for you, it's just knowing that someone else recognizes the impact of it. And I think, in my experience, that was the thing that my friends, I think, that I felt the best, knowing that they knew what it was, not what they were doing for me, but they knew what was going on.
I mean, I'll just say that the best friends that I have to this day are the ones who don't pity me. The business of the drug industry. Okay, yeah, if we had another hour, I could tell you all about it. No, there's a big problem in this country, and that is that people aren't getting access to the drugs that they need most. Some of the most expensive drugs in the market right now are actually the ones that are being produced for Crohn's disease. Unfortunately, that's just the case. What I'll say is this, something's got to change. This is something that really, hits home for me at least, and something that really strikes a personal chord. And I want to do all I can to really get the truth out there and make a change for the better.
Yeah, I started out with Remicade in high school, and I was really sick at the time. And I was one of the first, I think, minors in the world to ever take it. It was in one of their first studies. And it worked really, really well initially. And I took it for, I don't know, probably 7, 8 years. And for a lot of that time, I felt like I didn't have Crohn's anymore. And I felt really, really good. And over time, it started losing its effectiveness. And I started taking it more and more and more. And going from 16 weeks for an infusion to 8 and then down to 4.
Unless it was me, I thought it was a big deal. They were kind of like, oh, it's not a big deal at all. And I was like, wait a second, that wasn't cool. And they said it was low blood sugar, but that's never happened in my life, and it's never repeated itself since. So I don't think it was anything dangerous. It just sucked. It was just Remicade. It was the last one. They said I stood up too fast after the infusion. It was kind of like an avoidance of it. So I did that, and they actually, it wasn't severe other than that I thought it sucked. Again, No, I kind of was like out of it, like, yeah, it was like that kind of thing. It was not cool. Afterwards, they were like, yeah, it's not that bad. Why don't we try again in 4 or 5 weeks? And I was like, we're done. And then I went 7 or 8 months without medication and got pretty sick. But I'd be curious to talk after about your reaction to it, because they really said that, they were like, it didn't happen. And I was like, what are you talking about? It just did.
Our next showing, the next major showing, is probably in Houston in July. We may have one before then, we're not sure. It's kind of a little amorphous. If someone says we want to do a showing, we kind of organize a showing and take it that way.
Thank you everyone for coming out. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, just give me a buzz. We'll do that.
Awesome. Great meeting, man.
Awesome. Thanks.
Diagnosed in 2004, and I just want to say thank you. That was really inspiring.
Chris, thanks for coming.
Yeah.